Welcome to Machine Shop Tech Talk. In manufacturing, it's not if, but when something goes wrong. So we dig into problems with world-class problem solvers to bring you solutions that you can use when you need them, whether you need them right now, today, or in the future. Today, I've got my guest, David Capkovitz. He's a highly accomplished leader with over 3 decades of experience in manufacturing industry, specializing in business turnarounds, operational excellence, mergers, and acquisitions. As the principal and owner of EBITDA Growth Systems, he has driven significant growth, increasing revenue by over 6,000%. And I'm going to stop right there. David, I'm so glad you're here with me today. 6,000% is a massive, massive number. And I'm hoping that you can share some tips with the listeners out there watching today. How do you turn it around? 6,000%. That's an astronomical number, man.
No, that's when it really gets fun, right? I mean, a lot of guys are out there trying to hustle work, especially in today's economic environment. How do you get work? So you back up and you find a market that's really booming, and then you look at your shop and say, "Do I have the tools to make the parts in that market that's booming?" Then you find out where all those people go, be it a trade show. I mean, I was down at the
Yep.
Space Symposium in Colorado Springs yesterday, and the Lockheed Martins of the world are there, and they're looking for people that are making parts, and they show up. And these people
Yeah.
show up and they get good introductions. I was talking to a gentleman last night out of Arkansas that had 50 good, high quality contacts yesterday. And
Wow.
so this specific story, I had a fantastic team I was working with, very good sales team, and it was a smaller business, right? And then a president that had a really good vision for where he was going to go, and he hired salespeople and he paid the money and he went after it, and he had 3 guys hunting hard, and
Yeah.
we went from a few $1,000,000 to, I think that business now is around $40 million. But here's the
Wow.
thing: this is what's awesome. At $40 million, their bottom line is almost 40%. So we're talking not
Really?
10 or 15. These people tell me all the time, you can't make 20% profit. When you
Yeah.
have a process that's nailed down and you're very process oriented, you can make 30, 40% profit. You just got to know how, you got to know how to base everything on a process thinking. You can't be firefighting everything. But there are ways to
Mhm.
make money, but you got to hunt in a market. You got to know the market. You got to be fully invested. You got to go to the trade shows. You got to exhibit. You got to give your salespeople the tools. You got to let them spend money and go take people out to dinner and do whatever they need to do to get work, get those opportunities. And when you get the work, you got to turn around your prototypes. You got to get things going. And when you do that, that recipe, it works
Mhm.
every time. It's not rocket science. It's just consistency and hard work.
And something for the people listening out there, you just touched on, I think is huge. I think that a lot of machine shops are missing out on is you've got to have systems in place. You can't spend your days firefighting. I was in distribution for 8.5 years after being a machinist, and 99% of the shops I went into, everyone on the leadership side was stuck firefighting without a plan. When you're talking about having a plan, what are some of the elements that make for a good plan? Like this, that sales team that went out and nailed it, they got the business. I'm sure they had a plan. They knew exactly what they were looking for when it came to work. What are some things people out there could maybe look to add as part of their plan?
Every business has 5 major functions. Marketing all starts with marketing. People got to know who you are. And then
Mhm.
from marketing, get sales. Then you're going to get leads for marketing, and sales team has to be able to capture those leads and go get them, or go to
Yeah.
where the markets open up and go talk to those people. Once you
Yeah.
get sales, you have to have operations nailed down, because you got to be able to take the purchase order, process it, make a good part on time. Then you got to have finance. You got to have financial plan, because you got to be able to look at your financials and measure it and say, how did we do? You need to know how you're doing financially, and those financials need to be timely and accurate. And then you have to
Yeah.
have management. You can't just have people and not manage them. So you got to manage people, and you got to really invest in your leaders to where they're investing in their people. So those are 5 major functions of business.
Yeah.
So when you have those in place, you measure them. You say, this is where we want to be, and this is where we are. And then you build a plan to get from A to B. What do we need to do to get where we want to be?
Mhm.
A lot of businesses go sideways because they don't have a really clear vision. Some people, their vision might be, I need to get to $50 million in revenue,
Mhm.
but not just 50 million. I need $50 million in 5-axis revenue, or I need $50 million in Swiss or wire EDM revenue, or stamping,
Yeah.
molding revenue. Okay, so I know let's just pick 5-axis, because I love 5-axis machines. I give about 500 of them a shout out. I love machining. I'm a 5-axis machines tool and die maker by trade, so I love programming 5-axis machines
Yeah.
and Miltons and Swiss. The 5-axis, I'm a 5-axis company. I want to make $50 million. Okay, where can I go to get high volume, low mix, good 5-axis work. Space and defense, you can get a lot of aluminum housing work, right?
Yeah.
One-time use on some of that rocket stuff, right? So it's good stuff. And
Yeah.
how do I get in there and develop those relationships? Where do I need to go? Okay, so I'm going to do 5-axis work. I want to get to 50 million. I want to do medium to high complex work because we're good at it. Okay, well, that's my vision. This is where I'm
Yeah.
going. So you build guardrails, and everybody needs to align to that. Your quality system needs to be wrapped around exactly what it needs to be. Your marketing teams needs to market to that kind of work. Your
Hmm.
salespeople can't go taking, hey, I'm going to make hammers tomorrow. No, you only sell this. This is what you sell.
Yeah.
This is what we're good at. And then that way, if you're making one type of product all the time and doing it well, your variation in the plant's not going to be that crazy. You're
Hmm.
going to have like, call it 50 different kinds of parts, but they're 50 different 5-axis parts on probably 4 different kinds of materials. And
Yeah.
your programs are going to be somewhat similar. Maybe you can standardize your fixturing, your quick change fixturing, standardize your tooling, and and then you get there. And then flow starts moving faster and faster and faster because you're doing more of the same over and over again, and you go find volume. But it really
Hmm.
takes focus and consistency and a really clear vision that everybody bolts onto, and nobody steps out of line on that vision. You put guardrails on that road and you run as fast as you can, just like the Autobahn, right?
And there's a lot of great points there. One of them that I really like that you touched on too is the quick change fixturing and the tooling and all that stuff that you can specialize, because if you're doing aerospace, what type of tools you need, what kind of work holding you need, what parts families that you're actually working on, whether it's well, I guess space counts as aerospace, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, but all of that stuff, because then you can specialize on it, right? Because it's hard to do that when you do every single industry that's out there and you're just doing whatever you can get. Then you end up more in that firefighter category that we don't want anyone in.
Mhm.
What would you say? Let's say we've got shop owners watching right now, or salespeople in those shops, and they're like, yeah, but Dave, I don't want to be out of work. I want to keep my spindles busy. I need to go grab XYZ. I need to go grab all of this other stuff. What would you say to those people?
You're Canadian, so you like hockey, right? You like hockey?
Yeah.
So you like Wayne Gretzky?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk hockey for a second. When you're going to look at work, you have to make sure you have water on the floor and you got to make sure the ice is frozen before you can skate. You got to have ice. And then Wayne Gretzky, he was always thinking 3 moves ahead. That's what made him, quite honestly, I think the greatest hockey player that ever skated.
I won't tell your American friends.
Well, that's okay. No Ovechkin. Sorry, buddy. I'm still aggressive. And you Canadian bastards won anyway. So,
Yeah.
hey, if it wasn't for Canada, we wouldn't have like 90% of our hockey players. So I'm all about it. I love hockey.
Yeah.
So he's thinking 3 moves ahead. The third move ahead is I want to be in that industry. I want to be making 30% profit. You still need
Mhm.
ice. So let's get the work that we're good at right now. We have good customers. Let's get the work in there. Maybe that's only 5 or 10% profit. Let's
Mhm.
let's not let's make sure we're using our spindles. And then once we're using
Yeah.
our spindles, we say, okay, let's refine that a little bit. Maybe we increase our profit by 5% and go after this kind of part. And we start adding a little bit, drips and drabs. And then the second move is adding more. Maybe we can 50% of our work be in that mix. And then the third move is how do we replace maybe 75%? I mean, we don't want to just throw our customers out to the curb. We want to take care of the people that
Yeah.
took care of us. We may have to increase our pricing a little bit, put them on some older machines. Maybe they aren't getting rush priority on everything they have. But now
Yeah.
you're always thinking 3 moves ahead. The people that say, I'm just changing all my pricing, I'm just going to do this all right now, basically you wind up running yourself out of work. And you can't do that in
Mm.
this environment. You got to think 3 moves ahead all the time. That's how I go about it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, well, and it makes sense, right? I mean, you don't want to just throw your customers out the door. You still
No.
want to bring in the revenue. You still want to support them.
Mhm.
But what you touched on there too is, look, if over time, if you got to increase your pricing, now this applies to anything, but we're talking machine shops right now,
Mhm.
then they're going to self-select. Oh, can I still afford to work with them? Yes or no? Okay, they got to make that decision. It's on them as they're running their companies to see what makes sense for them.
Right.
And it doesn't just close the door, right? It gives them an opportunity to look for another shop. Now, they might also come back. I've been in the position running a shop where they actually came back. They're like, actually, we went to the other guys because they were a little bit cheaper and they messed it all up. Can you get us a rush order through? Because now we're 10,000 units short
Yep.
because they're unusable.
Right.
That's a whole other thing, right?
Right.
It still allows you to work that quality level up.
And Arthur,
So,
Arthur, I'll bring something up too. You being running a shop, it's our job every day to show up and provide value to our customers. If you're showing up for these people and you're doing what they need and you're doing it in on time and quality is never an issue, and you call them first and say, "Hey, are you doing okay? Is there anything you need? Is there anything I can do? Hey, I noticed
yeah,
this on this part. Hey, you usually order this every other week and you missed you missed a week. I'm worried about you running out of stock. Is there anything we can do to help? When you're that kind of supplier and you're providing that much revenue, price isn't the pivoting item anymore. You're literally a partner. And if we're doing our job as a machine shop and we're really trying to partner with other people, that's where the magic's made, because they need you.
Mhm.
They want that relationship and you mean something to them. It's our job to provide value to our clients, right?
Yeah, and it sounds like that's a great way to, instead of commoditizing your production capacity, you're actually becoming that trusted, valuable partner, which is what you want in your
Yes.
supply chain. The higher price, there's a post the other day I just talked about this on, where it's the higher price is sometimes comes at a lower cost overall to your operations.
I'm a shoe guy. I love shoes, man. It's a problem. My wife would say it's a problem. Some of my friends would say yes, and some of them would say it's a problem. I was down in Texas, and they have this boot store called Lucchese Boots, and they're like, I mean, they had a $20,000 pair of boots there. I've never seen cowboy boots that are 20 grand, nor will I
Wow.
ever buy a pair of cowboy boots that are 20 grand. But they had a lot of boots that were like 900 bucks a pair, and I'm like, but the store was full. You walk in, they're like, "You want a glass of bourbon?" I was like, now that you mentioned it, I think a glass of bourbon would be nice. Would you
Yeah.
would you like a snack? Hey, how about these? Let me measure your foot to make sure you're trying on the boots are going to be comfortable as you go out the door. Hey,
Yeah.
well, check this trick out. Check that trick out. Hey, how about this? Hey, we have tickets to this over here. You want to go check this out? And so
Yeah.
that customer service was to in the boot store was just selling $600 to $1,000 boots all day long. When you could just run up the street and get a pair of Ariats for $100. The value, people go there for how they're treated and they pay the money,
Yeah.
but they're handmade boots. Why would somebody pay the extra money for something? Because of how they're treated, and they want something that's going to last, and they want someone to call and follow up. Hey, how are those boots fitting? Are they good? Do you want anything changed? I mean, when you have that kind of service, think about it. I mean, why do we pay extra money for stuff? I mean,
An interesting point. It's something I don't want people out there listening to miss, because I think I've met a lot of owners and people in leadership roles at machine shops that are worried about raising their prices, that are worried about everything they bring. But if they just focus what you just pointed out, Dave, focus on being that valuable partner, on that trusted partner, focus on the whole experience. How easy are you to work with? What happens when things go wrong? Those kind of areas. What would you add to that list?
you have to be proactive.
Mhm.
I think you got to be proactive. You got to be looking out for your customers' best interest. You have to be really good at something. You have to carve out your niche. If
Mhm.
I don't think there's a better way to say it. I think you have to show up. If you're a 5-axis person, be the best 5-axis person around. If you're a Swiss lathe person, be the best Swiss lathe person. We're talking about what are you doing to be a process-based company where you have quick
Yeah.
change tooling, to where setups. I mean, we once took a black belt project for setups were 42 hours, and we got it
Yeah.
down to 6 minutes on a
Mhm.
complex
What?
non-repeat part. 6 minutes, quick change everything, standardized everything. So
Wow.
when you do something like that, you're making
Yeah.
150 bucks an hour, but that's okay
Mhm.
because you're getting something done 10 hours faster than everybody else is. And so it's really use your brains and your
Wow.
skill. And I think a lot of shops, like you said, they're afraid of pricing. You need to ditch the fear. Fear will eat you up in your relationships, in your business, in your checkbook. And if you think you're afraid and how everything's going to go bad all the time, eventually they're just going to go bad. It's like
Yeah.
tell someone they're a piece of junk long enough, they're going to believe they're a piece of junk. So you shouldn't be that way. You got to have
Mhm.
confidence and you got to value your time and you got to value your people. And when you start talking to your customer about a partnership, if you're dealing
Yeah.
with a customer that's less than $50 million in revenue, they want to hear the word partnership. If you're
Yeah.
talking to a customer that's $100 million or more, they want to hear about a strategic relationship. You want to be a strategic supplier to them. That way you can fit into their business strategy. And how do you do that? Now you're
Yeah.
talking, everybody has corporate mumbo jumbo language, right? But you fit into that because this is something they're hearing all the time from their executives. Wait a minute, we're looking for strategic suppliers. What does that mean? It means you're part of their strategy and you're going to invest in your business to match that, and you're going to service them at a high level. But you have to value yourself enough to believe that you can do it, and then show up
Mhm.
and go after it. Don't take no for
Hmm.
an answer. Tommy boy.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man.
Business.
Yeah, that if you guys missed what Dave just said, okay, just do me a favor, hit the rewind, go listen to him repeat that, okay? It's like going to business school listening to you, Dave. Seriously.
Thanks.
It,
I'm just a tool maker, man, but I love business.
yeah, we're going to kind of wrap up the episode here, but there's still a little bit for you to add a little bit more if you want, but I love the said another way, like listening to everything you said, you're educating your customers on what's reasonable, what to expect from you, but then you're also learning how they speak to what they're looking for. So the differentiator you use, below that $100 million line, that $50 million line, maybe they're looking for partnership, and then above that line, now they're looking for strategic partners. Even that right there. And at every level, they look for a little bit different, but you find out what they're looking for by, like you suggested earlier, going to trade shows. And then you talk the language that they're speaking so that they see you and they understand the value that you bring. Is there anything you would add to that, or any request you might have for the people that have stuck here all the way through the episode with us, Dave?
Well, first off, I mean, at EBITDA Growth Systems, we love helping people. But
Yeah.
Mike and I came from lucrative careers, and we bolted down to this, and we started this in 2019. I think we both made about $1,000 a month when we started. And so it wasn't about money. It was how many people can we help? Because when we're gone, we want to look back and say, this is the impact we made on other people. So it isn't, but our business isn't always like, oh man, you need help. It really takes courage to say, hey, I don't know everything. And when I ran my business and I was working 90 hours a week, I had a little too much pride. I didn't want to ask anybody, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? It takes a lot of courage to say, hey, so-and-so, you've been doing this 30 or 40 years. We're very, very fortunate to have 16 people in our organization now. And our 16 people, all of our coaches have said, I love what you're doing. I love what you stand for. I'm from manufacturing. Can I join your team? We've never went out and hired a coach. They always come to us. And because we're mission based, our mission is to impact lives through improving business performance. We want business owners to really enjoy life, take care of their family, take care of their employees, and take care of their community. And we want to give them all the tools to do that. So whether you're a client or not, call us, reach out. Hey, what do you think of this? I have a problem. But if I have to wrap up, I mean, it's just one of those things that invest in yourself, believe in yourself, know your value, know your employees' value. You guys have, if it wasn't for manufacturers, we would have nothing. Manufacturers are really the linchpin of the world, regardless of what country you're in. It's very, very.
Oh, yeah.
But North America, let's go, man. It's time. Regardless of tariffs and all this political mumbo jumbo, still need
Yeah.
parts, and we need you. That's what I think.
Awesome. That's a great final note, Dave. And you're 100% right. One, I love the mission that you and everyone at EBITDA are on, right? It's fantastic that you're up to 16 people now. I heard that right?
Yep.
That's wonderful, man. I'll put links down below. If you've listened this far into the conversation, you're clearly digging what Dave and I have been talking about in this podcast. So whatever links Dave gives me, I'm going to put them down below so you can click to get connected with him or learn a little bit more about EBITDA and his mission, the mission that the whole company's on, really. To everyone else, if you made it this far, don't forget to click subscribe, because if you made it this far, you're one of the few. Looking forward to having you following along. And to all my machining friends out there, keep your spindles turning and earning.